Hello and welcome to this episode of A CEO Teacher. Today, I'm going to teach you one of the most fundamental rules of good relationship, and that is about giving feedback. We divided this into two smaller episodes. One is giving feedback and one is receiving feedback. But believe me, we as Indians here, we love to give advices. They are free. We love to share our criticism, our feedback, our messages. And I remember my own story. I came back almost now 15 years ago from Gulf, working as an NRI with all those lovely theories and analysis. And my friends, probably not so close friends, acquaintances, invited me to their own seminar. So I go attend the seminar, and of course the seminar was well planned but too over planned. So they had 15 speakers and one after another. And then I did what I did. I overanalyzed. I wrote a 3-page long feedback. I analyzed, and I gave the entire session what was right and what was not right and what could do better. Believe me, it didn't go sync well with them. And that is why I'm sitting here telling, perhaps we don't know how to give feedback. Let's quickly look at another case study. How do you really give feedback? And this is an example of an office corporate culture. It could be a school, it could be a management meeting. And there was this person, Rohan, who gave a lovely analysis. So he spent almost an hour and a half giving his presentation, his views, corporate, vision of the school, and everything that a good manager should give. At the end of it, everybody shook hands, said, Rohan, wonderful, well done, great work. And his immediate manager also congratulated him, told him a good talk, and as he walked by, he spoke to his colleague. The manager now says, I wish Rohan would do a little better. He did well, but he spoke too much. And the colleague says, but sir, why didn't you convey that to Rohan? He said, no, how can I convey? He will feel offended. And that was the end of Rohan's analysis. So often in life it happens that we want to give feedback to somebody, but because of the social relationship, because of the peer groups that we have, because of not offending somebody, we stop even giving basic feedback. How many times have somebody given a feedback and we've never taken it well? Well, that is the reason why people don't give feedback. You don't tell your teachers that they were overanalyzing their classes. You don't tell your principal that her rudeness was affecting the morale of the teachers. You don't tell your CEO, your boss, that he could actually come and do a little motivational pep talk. You don't tell your students, and that, you tell your students all the time. Poor people, only ones who get a feedback is us children and our students. So now, let's understand what's the feedback all about. Ken Blancard, the author of 1 Minute Manager, says feedback is the breakfast of a champion. And believe me, my CEO does not leave his house without breakfast, lovely Aru parathas. So why would you leave your office, your school, any institution without positive criticism or what we call constructive feedback? Feedback is the breakfast of the champion. You know, the concept of giving feedback is a sign of trust and confidence. You only give feedback to people you really genuinely care for, and you trust them that they will take it right, and then you have confidence that your feedback has value. So I'm going to teach you 3 ways what are wrong with a feedback. Remember what feedback is not, and then you learn what feedback is. So what is good feedback? A good feedback is not sympathy. So you see, when you give feedback as a sympathy, it feels like patronizing. You are trying to be as if condescending and saying, hold on, you were not really good, let me give you a feedback. So good feedback is not your sympathy. Feedback is neither your power. So all those management executives, CEOs, principals, please remember, feedback is given as a power is very, very humiliating. So you call somebody in the office and somebody sits in opposite of you, and then you go on and on and on. The very feedback is lost. And then feedback is not your anger, which feels very abusive. Maybe your spouse, so you give a feedback how poorly she cooked, or your spouse told you how bad you drive, and that feedback looks abusive because you're angry at that time. So please, 3 things know about feedback. It's not your sympathy, so do not give a sympathetic feedback. It's not your power, do not humiliate the person, and never give a feedback when you're angry, it will be abusive. So what is a good feedback? A good feedback is timely. So when I see something wrong, I give them immediately. I don't wait for 2 weeks or 2 months and then I write a long email to my manager along with my resignation letter, all the things that were bad about the organization. No. Number 2, and that's all I want to give you, is small doses, one thing or two things at a time. So when I do class observation, I make sure after every class observation, I give my feedback, which is timely, and I only tell them 2 areas of improvement. And my next feedback, my next class observation, I'll see if they did the 2 things well. So you can look at the video, give me your feedback, remember timely, so don't wait for a year, and please not more than 2 feedback. Oh, by the way, my friends who I gave them a long 3-page feedback, they're some of the best friends I've got. So when you give feedback, it's a sign of trust and confidence. I'm Dawood Vaid, your host, and you're watching a CEO Teacher. Have a wonderful day.